Hello, my friend. I am so excited for our lesson today because we are going to take a peek into my signature watercolor class, Exploring Watercolor 101. I'm going to show you a lesson that is actually in the class, a project that we actually have in the class. And while you're watching me paint it, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some mindset tips that I think will help you on your journey. So, Exploring Watercolor 101, as of publishing this class, is not open for enrollment yet, but it will be in November. So I wanted to give you a little sneak peek as well as give you some encouragement. Classic me, right? So let's get started. All right, let's take a peek into this lesson. So, the lesson I'm showing you as a sneak peek today is basically an exercise in slowing down and relaxing. This is a lesson where I teach you a few of my favorite, just kind of calming, relaxing exercises that I can do with paint, with watercolor, that helps me remember why I do watercolor in the first place. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this lesson as you watch me paint some of these relaxing patterns. So I think that when people first start painting with watercolor, it might be very tempting or it might seem like an obvious reason you want to learn this skill is to be able to paint beautiful paintings that you can frame, that you can give away, that you can look at and admire and be proud of the work that you put into them. And I think that you will paint a lot of those paintings as you start on your watercolor journey. But honestly, even more important, I think, than learning to paint beautiful, finished products that you want to frame and hang and treasure forever is the time that you are investing in living your life. Because when you paint watercolor, if your main aim is to paint pretty paintings and to have pretty paintings at the end of all this time you're investing, you are probably going to be disappointed most of the time. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that to say you aren't good enough because you 100% are. What I mean that the reason I'm saying that is watercolor and creativity and art in general, the magic in spending your time creating something is not in the end result. The magic is living in the moment. The magic is waiting for you. It's right there, but you have to be willing to experience it without any expectation of how things are going to end. The quickest way to burn out and never practice watercolor again is to tie your worth as an artist to whether or not you actually admire the art that you have created at the end of the day. And, what I mean by that is creativity is about the process. Yes, is it nice when you have painted something that you want to frame and show all of your friends? Yes, it is nice. But honestly, the reason I come back painting again and again and again is because I actually like watching color blends, right? I actually like watching my brush leave behind trails of watery paint on my piece of paper. I like touching the texture of my watercolor paper. I like looking at my palette as it's swirling the paint around before it even reaches the paper. I like to swirl my brush on the palette. And the more I can remember how much of the process that I like in the moment, that's really what keeps me back. That's really what brings me back to practicing watercolor again and again. And that's really what I'm trying to focus on, especially in my beginner's watercolor class, Exploring Watercolor 101. Is it nice to make progress? Yes. But the key to making progress, really, the only way you can get better at anything is with practice. And the key to loving your practice, to coming back again and again, is to eliminating or kind of dissociating yourself from the end result. Like, for example, this herringbone pattern that I'm doing. Is it my most favorite thing I've ever painted? No. Is it a little wonky? Yes. Did I frame this after? No, I did not. But was it really fun to paint? Yes, it was, with all of the color blends and, trying to squeeze in the lines where they anywhere that they could go, even if it didn't look really pretty. It was a fun exercise and kind of, stress relieving for sure. And I find myself doing exercises like this way more often than I find myself sitting down to really stretch my creative muscles and paint something that I'm going to frame or sell. And both things are important, right? It's important for me to feel like I am really exercising my creativity and my creative work in creating some kind of final project. But it is just as important for me to rest and to play in creativity. It is just as important for me to use creativity as kind of a haven from all of the stressful things around me. And the way that you can do that, if you want to use watercolor particularly as that haven, if you want to use watercolor as a way, not as another way to prove how great you are, to prove how talented you are, but to build yourself some solid self-care time, meaning where you are actually doing something just for the benefit of you, just because you enjoy doing it in that moment, is to incorporate more sessions like this, where you are painting not for the end result, but for the process. And, discovering new things and making new memories and feelings along the way. The best way to do that, my most solid advice when it comes to figuring out how to, dissociate your worth as a creative from the quality or caliber of paintings you create is to, as you are painting or after you've finished, or basically anytime during the creative process, instead of looking for ways that you can improve, meaning instead of using criticism to hopefully spur progress, replace that with curiosity. Because if you go into a creative project, having very high expectations, thinking it's going to turn out a certain way, there's a very good chance you're going to be disappointed, like I said before. But if you go into a creative project thinking, I am trying to learn something and to feel something, and in order to do those things, I have to first admit that I don't know what's going to happen, and second, be open to the possibility that even if what happens is not what I expected, that doesn't mean it was a bad thing. And the more you can have that curiosity to just kind of sit back and let whatever happens happen, and then say, wow, what a cool thing that I got to witness. Even if it wasn't what I expected or what I wanted, that thing happened because I was willing to take a step into my creativity. And now I've discovered something new. And, when you have that when you have that curiosity, it's a lot easier to be self compassionate. It's a lot easier to make mistakes because they're not mistakes anymore. If you are curious, your mistakes are not mistakes, they are research, right? Your mistakes are just more knowledge that you have to build the kind of creative work that you really are striving for. And even if it's not even building creative work, but building a creative life, right? Because I think one of my biggest kind of light bulb moments came when I realized that it's not my job as a human to, make something that will outlast me. It's not my purpose as a human to, pour all of my energy into one big signature creative work that I will be known for. It's my job as a human to live my life. And in that way, my life is the masterpiece, right? Your life is the masterpiece. And in order to make it truly the most fulfilling, beautiful masterpiece you can, that means filling it with experiences. That means filling it with small moments slow moments where you can look around and say, wow, I am so grateful that I get to be alive in this moment. I'm so grateful that I am a human right now, getting to watch whatever magic is happening in front of me. And if you want to, if you let it, watercolor, especially of all of the art mediums, I think, can be a wonderful way for you to take a step into that curiosity and awe and really appreciate that your life is a masterpiece and it's your job to feel it and to enjoy it and to create it. So that was a peek into my watercolor class. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.